This is TWiT.
All right, the metaverse. This is just something that is super interesting to me, super appealing to me, not because I'm a Snow Crash fan, because I've never actually read the book, but metaverse is definitely a topic of Snow Crash, and concepts of the metaverse we see in all sorts of other ways in science fiction. Ready Player One kind of, touches on this a number of different ways across science fiction, to the point to where people who are fans of science fiction at this point just kind of assume and understand that at some point we're going to have some sort of metaverse to point to and to live inside of, or whatever that's going to be. And I think Facebook feels like they are the company to make it happen. At least that's what Zuckerberg has been saying. So we brought Janko Rutgers from Protocol to join us and talk a little bit about the metaverse and Facebook's vision of it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So for those like me who have never read the book, although I'm thinking like 99% of TWiT fans have probably read Snow Crash, I still have not. It's okay. I will one of these days. I'll get around to it. But anyways, Metaverse plays highly in this. Talk a little bit about what the Metaverse is as we kind of understand it right now, and as it's kind of evolving, and really kind of how that differs or compares to things that we do have right now, like VR, augmented reality, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so the Metaverse, in short, is sort of a virtual online space where you use avatars to meet people, hang out with your friends, play games, maybe attend concerts or events and all kinds of these fun things. And at some point, maybe even work and do more tedious stuff. And it has its roots, the idea has its roots in science fiction, like Snow Crash or like Ready Player One. And for people who haven't read those, Ready Player One, obviously there's a movie out there too, if you want to catch up on it really quick. But in those books, the metaverse is very much connected to some version of VR, where people put on these goggles and then they're transported in these crazy virtual spaces and out of whatever hellscape they live in the real world. And I think that has led a little bit to people confusing VR with the metaverse. But in reality, if I have an Oculus Quest right now and I put that on to just play Beat Saber by myself, that's not the metaverse. It's just a different version of gaming, right? The metaverse is more a social sphere. And at the same time, I think the thinking has evolved a little bit about what the metaverse truly can be beyond science fiction. And people have looked at things like Fortnite or things like Roblox and realized, well, those are games or gaming environments, but we go also in these worlds and we have our own avatars and we hang out, and there's concerts in Fortnite, and in Roblox there's a whole economy. So those are in a way also early versions of a metaverse, even without VR.
So then we have, Facebook, who we're going to talk a lot about right now in relation to the metaverse. But Facebook has, they bought Oculus however many years ago at this point. Was it 5 years ago? I can't remember, lost track. But they bought Oculus, and then they also have a product called Horizon, which really seems to be kind of like the sandwiching of Facebook's social platform into a VR space. So to a certain degree, it sounds like Horizon is kind of what you're talking about, or is the metaverse something even more than that?
Well, first of all, the metaverse only exists as much as there's people there, and Horizon right now is sort of a private beta still that's invite only.
Fair enough.
And it kind of shows how hard it is to follow up and follow through with this vision to build something like that. Facebook, again, they bought Oculus a number of years ago. They've been trying to make this technology social for some time. If people who followed that closely may have seen, there was like Oculus venues, Oculus rooms, and all kinds of other things where they try to figure out what do you actually want to do there when you meet with people in VR, and what's not creepy, and how can we make this experience actually pleasure and nice for people. And it turns out to be surprisingly hard, right? So I think that's why they have been iterating on these things, and why Horizon is not public yet. I would expect that maybe later this year they're going to open this up more widely. But yeah, they're still kind of chipping away on that vision. The new thing is that Facebook really has been coming out, or Facebook executives have been coming out and saying, this is really where we want to go as a company.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Mark Zuckerberg, just in the earnings call this week, said something along the lines of moving away from being not just a social media company, but a metaverse company, and referring to the metaverse as like the next evolution. Right now, we're in the mobile internet world, and that the metaverse is going to be the next thing. What else did he have to say about it? Because that's perhaps the most direct kind of mention that's happened, and during an earnings call, no doubt. So he's talking to investors and saying, hey, we're betting big on this thing called a metaverse. What other information did he share in that call about this?
Yeah, because it was an investor call. Investors want to know, how much is that going to cost? Yeah. And how much money are we going to make with this? Or how much money are you going to make us with it? And Zuckerberg was sort of vague on both fronts. He did, or Facebook's CFO also did reiterate that the company has spent billions and continues to spend billions on AR and VR, which are really more access technologies for something like the metaverse, right? So basically they came out and said, this is going to be a significant investment. This is going to be expensive, but we are going to make money with it, and many other companies are going to make money with it in the long run as well. But still very short on the details there.
Yeah, and I think in the long run is the detail that's really kind of a big question mark. You know, how long does it take to create a metaverse that satisfies what Facebook's vision is? Right now, you know, you pointed out in one of your articles that their AR and VR team already is around 10,000 people. That just blows my mind to think about that many people with their mind on AR and VR. Meanwhile, augmented reality, I mean, you know, virtual reality, both things are technologies that we've been hearing over the past handful of years are the next big thing, or, you know, a big deal. And yet when you look at kind of the fruits of all of that labor, it's still pretty marginal compared to a whole lot of other things in the world of technology. Yet they have 10,000 people working on this. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind that Facebook is going all in on this. Have they talked at all about the business model driving the metaverse? Are they taking? Would they? And maybe this is something that, you know, is more conjecture than anything, but would they be taking what's working on Facebook now and, you know, throwing ads on virtual billboards everywhere because ads work on Facebook? Is that what's going to drive the metaverse, do you think?
Zuckerberg did say during the call that ads could be one way to monetize this. But he was, again, short on details, and I think for a reason, because people are very sensitive to this idea. If you have Facebook ads displayed on your phone, it's sort of something you can scroll over. If you have something like in your face, really, on your headset, maybe that's much more invasive, obviously.
Yeah,
and early trials there's been a significant backlash against it. So one other thing he brought up during the call yesterday was that there may be a creator economy based on this. So people may build things, they may sell customized avatars, they may sell experiences. And I think there's something to that. We have seen, like during the pandemic, people paying for virtual concerts and stuff like that. And a lot of this is still very rudimentary, right? I pay a ticket and then I get to watch a Zoom call, which is not that great of an experience, but it is something. But if you could imagine in the future maybe attending a concert of your favorite band with your avatar, with your friends who may not be in the same room as you, but you can all hang out together, and it's a good social experience. I could see people pay money for that. So Facebook would probably want to have a cut of that. And ultimately, I think there's also a part where Oculus, the VR efforts, there's an Oculus store right now. So Facebook charges software developers fees to sell their games to VR users. They could in the future also sell maybe operators of other metaverse instances or parts of this metaverse fees for driving audiences to them.
Yeah. Your previous point about, you know, selling in-game, or not in-game, I guess metaverse wouldn't necessarily be a game, it would be a way of life, but selling in experience, you know, be it avatars or experiences or whatever, that actually there's a deep correlation between what we're seeing now in apps like you mentioned Roblox, what is the VR version of Roblox that's on Oculus that is free? What is it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are a lot of apps that do this. And but I mean, the flip side of that is a lot of those apps, they're free. Like, they're free for users, but people are paying to upgrade their avatar. You know, my girls, they're constantly asking me, can I have some money for Roblox so I can, you know, get this thing for my avatar? And it may seem silly, but there's a heck of a lot of people willing to pay money for it, and a lot of money to be made. So
for sure,
I could absolutely see that. What do you think that Zuckerberg had the metaverse in mind when Facebook bought Oculus? I know that from very early on, he was talking about the acquisition in the sense of having some sort of a virtual representation of Facebook. But was that this metaverse thing that he's talking about now, or is this just the evolution of that thinking?
I mean, I think Facebook always wanted to make VR social. Mm-hmm. How to do that has been the challenge for the company. Again, they've tried multiple things, and them framing that as the metaverse now, I think that it's part of it is just because the term has become trendy.
Right.
So
it's
they're jumping onto that, obviously. Yeah. But I think it's also realization that, maybe we cannot just build this in VR. Maybe we need to find some gateways. Maybe we need to allow people to also access it through mobile phones. Maybe it's a world where, some people join it with VR headsets, some people at some point may have AR glasses, and some people are still on their phones. And that sort of touches more onto these things like Roblox, where people have, phones and game consoles and whatnot to access it.
Yeah. The game I was thinking of was Rec Room. So if you have a Quest, definitely check it out. It's a pretty cool experience, and also to a certain degree, kind of reminds me of what Facebook could do with Horizons if it wanted to. I don't know if that's the direction they'll go, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. What do you think the timetable is on something like this? Because when I think of metaverse and when I think of what I would envision a really just perfect definition or experience that I would define as a metaverse, I don't think of putting a headset on and putting a controller in my hands, because that still feels like I'm using something artificial. I think more of placing myself into a true alternate reality, and then we're getting into real science fiction. Then we're talking about implants and stuff that tap into our senses and override what we're actually seeing and experiencing. I'm not sure that's necessarily where Facebook is expecting to go right now, but is there any indication whatsoever as far as is this a 10-year project? Is this a 5-year project? What do you think?
That's a really good question. I think it will be hard to tell. And I would imagine that it's actually more of a case where the metaverse is going to sort of sneak up on us.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's going to be more iterative, and they're going to roll out more social worlds in VR and more gaming worlds. And suddenly you realize you spend more and more time, and then you do other things. And then maybe that is the metaverse, right? Building something that's full fleshed out and perfect technology, and then say, here, this is the metaverse, go and use it. That's sort of destined to fail. And we've seen that in the past with social experiences and worlds. People may remember Second Life, right? Where it was you can do anything, you can meet brands, and you can do, and most of those things people didn't actually want to do. And the blank canvas can be sort of intimidating and scare people off. If you give them more limited use cases and then expand that over time, that may be the better way to get there. And it might also be a way to get there a lot faster.
Yeah. Who knows? Horizons might be Metaverse 1.0 once it's actually available for everyone to use. We'll see. And then you got to get over the whole Facebook thing too, because I've got a Quest. I have a dummy Facebook account that allows me to play the Quest, but I do not use Facebook for any social anything. And in order to participate in this, one would imagine Facebook's really going to require that. If they're requiring you to have a Facebook account in order to even use your Quest 2 headset, they're definitely going to require a Facebook account to tap into their metaverse. So that's going to be a large hill for a lot of people to climb.